Hello, this is Gretchen and this is the Vintage Seagull. In order to build up the channel, I ask if you could like or subscribe, or if you're interested in seeing more of my videos for your own purposes. So today's video is going to be all about the vintage singing. I did the video on movies and music and things like that, so I wanted to kind of get into, if you do vintage singing or want to perfect it, some basics. So sound equipment, rehearsing, things of that nature. And on a separate video, I'm going to go into songs for each time period. So 20s, 30s and 40s and 50s. My outfit today, this is the first time I attempted bumper bangs and it's not great. And to be honest, it took an hour to get it to work for me. I don't know if other people have the kind of hair I have, but I have very fine, thick hair, and I had it thinned and cut. And I went 2 days without conditioner and just shampoo, and I still had to tease it a ton, hairspray, even thickening kind of texture stuff. And I had trouble with the end, and it's not laying correctly. So I'm learning my hair is really a challenge. I have to really rough it up for it to do anything. It just, the ends come out and it's extremely soft, which is annoying. So hopefully next time I can perfect that. And I think as I learn to do my hair, I'm learning how healthy and soft it is, and which can be frustrating to do hair. Plus it's really straight. So also got this blue and polka dot top and a khaki skirt. So I'll try to be 40s, even though I feel like the bumper bangs is kind of rockabilly. But I wanted to try to continue training myself on how to do hair, starting simple to hardest. And I had tried to do victory rolls the other day, and it's the same problem. It's the soft hair. So that's about my outfit and my progress with the hair. I hope I get as good as some of you as I practice. The first part I'm going to get into is just music basics, really. So if you haven't sang before, this would probably be more geared to that, and I guess it varies on your level and your experience and things like that. When I started singing, I sang in my bedroom. I sang pop songs of my time period, which was like Mariah Carey and things like that. And then I joined choir, and if you can go to voice lessons and pay for it, at the time my parents couldn't, so I just did choir for free and doing musicals and things like that. But learning music theory, how to read music, do things by ear. I'm more of a sheet music reader type, so by ear is a little bit of a challenge for me. Learning obviously the history and the time period you're singing. Trying to think of some other components. Obviously the singing technique, the breath support, the dynamics, even analyzing, like say Frank Sinatra, how he croons and puts emotion into the music, stage presence and expression, doing some recitals. And that's kind of like, just music 101 kind of stuff. Just really work on music and singing in general, and learning all the components of being a musician is really important. If you can do any piano or guitar, like just even chords, chunk group position chords, like so, for example, C, E, G on the piano, boom, things like that, just doing some basics. So just being a musician and trying to put all your training together, and just in general singing, that's in first and foremost. So my transition for music styles is I started pop in my bedroom, Broadway, opera, and then I went from opera to 40s music, which was kind of a challenge for me. and I'm a soprano, so I can do soprano and mezzo and high alto, but low notes were hard. So when I do jazz, B below middle C I can do, but I have no power. So I'm glad I have the microphone. So that transition was hard. So high notes and belting and being able to be loud and hit the back wall of a recital hall, and then crooning and learning that technique, that took me a little bit. It was a little awkward. I had a mentor who helped me with that, and I just practiced and worked at it and got feedback. So that's sort of like the in general kind of being a musician part. So the other thing I would say, just like picking a time period with fashion, I'd pick a time period or time periods you want to sing. I mostly do 30s and 40s. I've touched the 20s a little bit. I've touched the 50s even less, mostly because of like the World War II reenactments and things like that. So kind of brainstorming, I mean, you could do this in general for any music you want to do. What do you want to focus in on? I also like to do American Revolution, so I do colonial patriotic folk songs from the era of sea shanties and the opera arias and the Baroque and the classical. I also just did a gig singing some Irish music, so that's a thing too. I've done Robert Burns night for a gig, and I do like doing like, I wouldn't call it modern pop at this point, but like the power ballad kind of divas like Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston. I like singing Katy Perry. I like Christina Aguilera. Those from modern. So I'd say, opera, 40s, and then those modern kind of singers. That's sort of like when I do a gig, that's what I would do. So when I craft a gig, just depending on the time period, I, work with the venue, and I, we work together on what we're going to do. So for example, if they want me to sing for 30 minutes or an hour or 4 hours or 5 hours, it depends. Opera I can't do for 4 or 5 hours, but 40s jazz I have done, like at an air show under a B-17. So you look at the time block, you look at what the customer venue wants of you. So sometimes I sing for free, sometimes I sing for pay. If they have something in mind, like I want you to sing this specific singer or time period, or if they just, most of the time they don't really care as much, they just want it to be accurate from a time period when I do it, like a reenactment or an ambiance theme kind of thing. So to get more specific, if someone wanted me to sing for an hour for a 1940s event, that gives me a good baseline. And if they don't care like which artists I sing, then I pick a variety of the ones that are my best songs, what I'm comfortable with, and sort of like the playlist mix, I put that together. I use an app program called OnSong, which people have used, and you can get a cloud subscription for this, for kind of worship groups and churches, but you can get it, I think, on Apple and Android, and you kind of build a database with song lyrics. You can put chords in there. It's more on an iPhone or iPad if you need, your resources, and you can make set lists and things like that. So I make set lists custom for a specific gig, or I can reuse ones that are my good standard. So I kind of just go off of what, the venue or whatnot wants and what I think is best for me to do. And I map it out. Sometimes I print out a master sheet if something happens to the lyrics, and I have books as backups. So I have binders with front loading those plastic sleeves and sheet music or just lyric sheets. And so for that, so after that happens, then you rehearse during the week of the performance or leading up. So seasoned musicians, they don't like run their stuff from like start to finish necessarily. Sometimes they'll just spot check things or work on trouble spots. You might do like a little dress rehearsal leading up to the performance, and yeah, you don't kill yourself or hurt your voice as you're rehearsing, but you kind of build up your muscle memory and your stamina just like an athlete training, building up to that event. And then if there's more planning, it's like self-directed kind of stuff. If you know a month ahead of time, you can kind of work on it. And if you want to learn a new song or a couple, you work through that in your process, just like how you would learn a new song in a voice lesson studio, things like that. For the sound equipment, I don't have it in front of me. It's packed away at the moment, but what I personally use is I bought a Shure vintage mic. It looks like the one Elvis uses, with a stand, and you have to get a cable for that stand, and that would go into a PA. So I have only one of those, and that also has its own stand. So if you see at a performance, it's like a tripod with this big speaker. That's what a PA would be. And then there's a mixing board, also has a cable that connects to that PA system. And then I use tracks. If you have, a band or someone who could play for you, but I can never get anybody to commit. So I will do a lot a cappella, and I'll get professional tracks, whether it's like an iTunes karaoke track, or I have a YouTube ripper. So there are a lot of people who do accompaniment tracks on YouTube, and you look at the best ones that don't sound very karaoke and cheesy, and then you obviously rehearse it with that, know your entrances and stuff, and do that. So you could do a corded version of tracks through like an iPhone or an iPad. So the OnSong program I use has like an option for a track you could build into it, which is great. Or you could do it separate with iTunes, or you could do Bluetooth. And then when I do gigs that are like less, there's no miking, I do use a Bose wireless Bluetooth speaker and just my natural singing voice without any amplification. You could go to a music shop and explain kind of what you want to do, and they could help you with that setup, but it's really basic. PA, mic, the mixing board, and the cables. And then you have to figure out if you want to do your tracks corded or Bluetooth. Bluetooth can be temperamental, so I like to have backups for both. I like to have power strips, and then those little flat things to prevent trip hazards is good for any audience or people. So I use a very simple setup. It's maybe a couple $100. I remember I traded in some music gear, and I got that for a good price. You can maybe get pre-owned, gently used, but that's the basic if you want to get started with that. So I've decided to do a voiceover to go over my specific singing gigs to give people some ideas. So always the national anthem is a easy and much requested one. And I'm kind of going backwards in time. I just did a performance with 18th century fox hunting songs, so that's more of a colonial thing. I did an event that was Mark Twain was themed, and I did a couple of World War I songs. And on this topic, I had mentioned on a previous video to dress up kind of in character or your vintage time period. Always dress in that time period you're portraying, because that really adds to the ambiance, unless it's an event where they don't want you to do that. But that's what I do. I always match what I'm singing. There was a Halloween event I did, so I dressed very Victorian for that one, and I did a mix of songs. So some, you know, like Thriller or Zombie by the Cranberries or Phantom of the Opera or like Bach kind of stuff. So very Halloween-y themed. So you could do a mix of time periods. I did an 18th century program, which again, that consisted of folk songs, sea shanties, patriotic and classical opera pieces. I did a Burns night where I did some Scottish songs, Irish songs, and Auld Lang Syne by Robert Burns. 1940s jazz singing, again, more like air show type stuff. So again, on another video, I'm going to get into specific songs and set lists. Christmas party, I sang some traditional songs and some 40s Christmas carols. A nursing home program, so I did like a 40s theme for that. So I did like just one in the fall where I dressed as Rosie the Riveter, and then I did a Christmas theme one too. So I kind of did the mix of the traditional Christmas carols in the 40s. German music, so the German anthem, kind of Oktoberfest kinds of songs, some Schubert, things in German. Wedding singing, so a lot of, you know, a couple will ask you to sing a specific song. A lot of that's more on the classical or opera end of things. Graduation ceremonies, so they usually pick a song that you're going to sing for them, for that. And those are like kind of my solo experiences. I've also done different choirs. And oh, another cool one is I was a magical singer at a Ren fair, so you could do stuff like that. They do a lot of sea shanties or songs like Fathom the Bowl or, you know, folky kind of stuff. You could do church choir, you could do musicals, but that's basically the sum total. A lot of I did those kinds of performances over and over. So there is a lot of national anthem, colonial, in like 40s sets. I did 120 set once, and actually at reenactors call this a timeline where you have various time periods. So I did one where I sang some 20s, some 40s, some 50s, some Vietnam era songs. So I kind of mixed it up in time periods. You can do that as well. But again, you can pick your theme, customize it for the venue, and do your shtick for your vintage singing. I hope this video on like doing vintage singing gigs was helpful. It's like a mismatch of a lot of things, from learning your craft to rehearsing to you know, being professional with a venue and giving them customer service at a gig, putting together a package they want and preparing it, having the sound equipment, and doing the performance. So on another set of videos, I'll go through some of my set list for various time periods, so you can get some ideas on some specific songs to learn, or how I put them together.